Welcome, everybody, to the Ultimate Advisors Resource Podcast. I'm Jordan.Pence. I've got Chris Workman, our case design specialist, here today. And today, it's that time of year again, top 10 IULs. This is my favorite time of year, Chris.
It's a good time.
Can't wait. But first, our company is Advisors Resource Company. We help advisors like you write more life and annuity business. And again, today, got the top 10 IUL. All right. So we've got the screen share up there, but Chris, what is the most surprising thing on here, would you say?
Most surprising, I think, is Augustar. That one kind of threw me off, and also Lincoln. The fact that it was up to number 3, I think last time we ran this, it was sitting at about 6 or 7 on the list. I dug through there looking to see what all has changed on that. I think they've lowered expenses a little bit recently, but as far as indexes and everything go, they've kept everything the same. So that was probably the biggest surprise to me.
Yeah, Lincoln's new Wealth Builder product. I mean, a lot of people have a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth from Lincoln's old, I can't remember the product name, but the cap's real low. It's got a one floor.
Mhm.
Um, but they're hitting it out of the park again. I mean, it's a really interesting product. The expenses are very reasonable. You can say the same about Augustar, really. If I go down the list here, there's a few things that don't surprise me, like NLG having like the highest expenses. I think we all could have predicted that.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the lowest cash values and highest expenses.
yeah,
Absolutely makes sense.
yeah. A new standout on here, I think, is that Pru product, coming out at 82,000. Real comparable to what I would say the Securian product, very similar.
Oh, yeah.
Same cap, same amount of income almost.
Mhm.
Um, who's not on this list that's kind of surprising is Allianz dropped all the way off the list.
Allianz is off the list this time, and I think the main reason there is we ran this using only the S&P account, so we didn't include any of Allianz's, bonus accounts that they usually do.
Yeah, when you use those bonus accounts, it really hypes it up. So, Chris, do you want to share the screen for everybody to see this report? Let's pull it up and let's walk through it and see why people are where they're at. I think that's an interesting way of doing it. So you're gonna want to share window, entire screen, Chrome tab. Pull up the PowerPoint. Maybe that'll be able to share it. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties.
Mhm.
And then click the present button. Maybe. Yeah, just do that. That's fine. Perfect.
There we go.
Well, now you gotta. There you go. And then do the yeah. Perfect.
There we go.
All right, guys. I think we figured it out.
Ooh,
Welcome
had
to the future.
difficulties.
All right. So for those of you tuning in audio only, number 1,
North American.
2 is Augustar. 3, we've got Chris's new favorite, Lincoln.
I wouldn't go that far, but Lincoln's up there.
And then we got the Corebridge brokerage product or the non-QOL product after that. 5th on our list, or right there in the middle, is the NLG product that we added on here. We actually don't sell NLG, but I get a lot of questions about it.
For
So,
comparison's sake, it's nice to have it.
yep. Right after that, we've got the comparable QOL line of product. And I think it's really interesting that those two are so close. And actually, I think we should talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
New on the list is the Pru product.
Mhm.
After that, we've got the Symetra product, and then Columbus Life, and then last on the list here, we've got Securian. So, for those of you who haven't tuned into our other top 10 IULs, what we do is we break down the cash value at year 20, the expenses through year 20, and then income from age 66 to 100. Now, Chris, what were the specifications that we ran on this?
So this was based on a 45-year-old male preferred rate class, and they are putting in 25,000 annually for 20 years. So paying in 25,000 to age 65, and then, as you mentioned, income from 66 to 100 based on a minimum death benefit.
All right. And I don't necessarily want to tear this one company apart, but they've been consistently at the top of our list, and that's North American with the Builder Plus IUL 4. And this is what I always like to pull out, like point to is like they have the highest income, right? 96,156. Their expenses are the second highest through 20 years. It's 98,760. Second to
NLG,
second to NLG. And their cash value is
the lowest on this list.
the lowest on the list, isn't it? It's just under 900,000. So riddle me this, Chris. How does the lowest cash value, second highest expenses, highest income, how does that happen?
They've got loans. They've
They've
got a 2% bonus on their loan spread.
All right, y'all. This is what everybody that sells IUL needs to understand, and they need to stop just comparing that income number. And that is insurance companies and their actuaries are very smart. And they've come up with ways to get around the regulation. Around the regulations is a tough word. Um, Work within the regulations to optimize their designs.
Yeah.
And so AG 49A or B or whatever. Yeah, AG 49B, AG 49B plus or whatever they're calling it
One of
now.
them.
Yeah. Regardless, the most recent illustration regulations require that the loan spread is only 50 basis points. And what I mean by that is the gross crediting rate on the loaned out portion of the cash value can only earn 0.5% more than the loan rate. Well, what happens is companies like North American, they'll add in a bonus. And so their bonus is actually only on the loaned out portion and it gets that loan spread up beyond 2.5%, right?
Correct.
So it can be quite substantial. And I actually didn't look. I don't know if you know, like if you go track down this list, you'll see a similar trend, right? But I didn't actually look at this. What is the bonus on Augustar and Lincoln for them to be number 2 and 3?
Augustar is 1.5. So
Okay.
that kind of falls in line with North American. That explains why they're slightly lower there. Lincoln, I did not actually look at, but I know on their S&P, they actually have 110% par rate rather than 100% that most carriers use. So they're adding in a little bit on that side of things.
That's kind of goofy.
Yeah.
They've got to have an additional bonus. We need to drill down on that and figure out where it is. But Corebridge, 1% bonus
1%.
on the loan to help portion.
Mm-hmm.
If you just go down the list, you'll find that everybody has a bonus. Now, I don't think bonuses are per se bad. It's just you got to understand what you're comparing here.
Exactly.
And I think the most reliable way to compare these products is expenses over 20 years and cash value in 20 years. Now, a notable missing contender who happens to be the favorite IUL of many other pundits out there is the F&G product. That one didn't quite make the list. So let's go over the specs on that one real quick.
So one thing I will say with F&G is in the past, they have been on the list using their trail setter. That one is no longer available. And so if we use the path setter, which is their newer version of the Acume IUL, that one cash value after 20 years would be the lowest on this list at 894,000. Annual income is about 75,000. So right below Securian on this list. So they're coming in at roughly number 11 there. And then expenses are 76,000 through 20 years.
Somewhat in the middle.
So right about average on this.
Yeah, which is unusual because the expenses are somewhat reasonable. Cash value is low. Crediting rate is decent.
Crediting rate's decent, and they have a 12% cap on that.
So the only thing that makes sense on that is they're either crediting off of like some weird number because like Symetra, for example,
Mhm.
they'll credit off your beginning balance rather than the ending balance after they've taken out the COIs.
That
I
is
don't know
weird.
if you know that,
I
but
did not.
they do that. And F&G must be doing something weird with taking out the COIs and putting them in a different account because again, expenses are reasonable. Cash value is just so freaking low compared to everybody else.
I mean, expenses line up exactly with what Lincoln has, basically.
Yeah, they're
You
almost
have
identical to Lincoln, but they're
30,000 less in cash.
actually 40,000 less than cash. Well, yeah, about 30,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So that just something doesn't add up there.
exactly.
Which tells me that it could be some off crediting cycle or something like that
Mhm.
that reduces the amount that you're credited. Again, you got to be really careful about this stuff because these products are so complicated and there's so many levers that the insurance companies can pull. Now, Chris's favorite, Columbus Life, down at number 9.
I do love Columbus.
Columbus Life, they have reasonable expenses, about 920,000 of cash value. I mean, that's not bad. I would say their bonus is 50 basis points.
50 basis points. Them and Securian both.
So if you go down this list, this is effectively an order of the bonus.
Correct.
If you look at income, it's effectively as how big is the bonus? That's what position you're in.
Exactly.
Because to be fair, on Symetra, which I think they have a pretty clean product, but we did run the index with
With a bonus of 0.75.
so this has a 0.75 bonus. And again, is right in line on the income. I mean, it's just dialed in basically to how big your bonus is going to be how high your income is.
Exactly.
Now, Symetra's product. Let's talk about that briefly.
Mhm.
Let's talk about Securions for a minute. And
Yeah.
then I think we should go back to NLG, which is I guess because we don't write them, we're going to beat them up a little bit. And then I think we should compare that to the QOL as well.
It's easy to beat them up some with those numbers.
All right, Symetra. Symetra. So if you do not use the bonus, and I'm not faulting this, I'm just saying if you don't use the bonus, the income goes down from the 80,000 down to 71. That for everybody out there should tell you how big of a deal that loan spread is. The cash value, if you use the higher crediting rate on the 11 and a half cap,
Mhm.
cash value goes up to 962,000, which actually is the highest cash value on the list.
Yeah.
And it would have the lowest
It would
income.
have the lowest income,
And
exactly.
again, folks, that is just because
Also the lowest expenses.
also the lowest expenses. That is just because that freaking loan spread. So don't make the mistake of just comparing income. Talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, like me and Chris. So, anyways, uh, I totally lost my train of thought. I was at Symetra.
Symetra.
This is at a 6.8 plus 0.75%. They have a flavor of this with the NASDAQ, which I think is arguably more attractive.
It is.
So tell everybody about the NASDAQ index.
NASDAQ without a bonus, you have an 11.5 cap on that. With the bonus, rather than a cap of 9.5 like the S&P does, it has a cap of 10.25, and then you're getting a 0.75 bonus on top of that. So effectively 11% with a better than a 0.75 floor.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty sharp because if you think about it, you're getting that 0.75. So if you get 0, you got 0.75. But if you got 1%, you got 1.75. So it's literally better. Literally, I hate using that word. It's actually, it's actually better than a 0.75 floor and 11 cap because of that.
Exactly.
I think that's a very, very attractive.
And there aren't many carriers out there with a true NASDAQ index.
That is true. I think Hancock just came out with a new product. It didn't make the list. We got to go refigure it, but Hancock just came out with a new product
With
that
like a
has it.
14% cap on it too.
Yeah, we got to
Which
really
is
dig onto that.
crazy.
It actually came out. What was it last week or 2 weeks
Within the
ago?
past 2 weeks.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to really dig into that yet, but it looks good
It looks good.
on
And it has the
paper.
Smart Start segments, which is a really cool feature on this.
Yeah, you know what? I don't mean to make this a sidebar, but that Smart Start thing. So basically, what they're doing is starting the index date on the day that the contract is. So you see credits in the first statement.
Exactly.
Which, dang, man, I mean, how many people have
That's really
shown
cool to
us?
show.
Yeah, how many people have shown a statement where it's like, well, you got to imagine next month you're going to get like, a gajillion dollars of interest credits.
Yeah.
Which I hate. I think that's a big challenge. Back in the day, I don't remember what carrier did, but there was a carrier that would send out the 12-month statement, and then they'd send out a 13-month statement after that first credit, which
That's
I think
smart.
is also a good
It
idea.
makes a lot of sense.
Anyways, Securian. So by the way, Symetra is owned by a mutual company. Columbus Life is owned by a mutual company. That's it. Securian is a mutual company.
Correct.
Second lowest expenses. I think it's a pretty clean product. Their bonus is only 48 basis points or 46 for it's point
0.47.
Yeah,
call it.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Pretty clean expense wise. It's got a few cool features. Pretty straight up indexes. I mean, they have that S&P Prism. I mean, you probably would do. Oh, they have the hindsight one, which is kind of interesting because it blends the S&P, the
Russell and the
Nasdaq, and then you get the best 3 out of those with a cap of 9.5.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an interesting offer as well. If you go up from there, we're going to talk a little bit about Corebridge QOL and National Life Group. So those two products, I mean, man, they are very close together. Expenses are almost 20,000 more on NLG. Cash values are somewhat close.
Incomes are basically identical.
Incomes are the same. The QOL line does have better ABRs than NLGs. It's a higher limit, and so forth. But man, if you're focused on selling ABR riders, it's hard to beat that QOL rider or QOL product line, which we have, by the way. 11.5 cap. So in theory, that's going to perform really well. But look at the comparison between that and Corebridge Brokerage, which is number 4 and does not have the ABRs. You're paying for those things.
Oh yeah. 13,000 over 20 years. You're absolutely making up for that.
And I will say, look at number 1, ABRs, number 5, ABRs, number 6, ABRs, and then number 9, ABRs. They are all on the upper end of the expenses.
Absolutely.
And actually, if you think about it, old American National, when they had their IUL, that was very inexpensive, and it had the ABRs.
Exactly. They were like 60, 65,000 for expenses.
That was actually a very competitive product if you really dug into it and understood the numbers. But that's just a dream now.
Too late.
So anyways, that really stands out to me as that NLG contract, the most expensive, right in the middle. I don't know what their bonuses are. So obviously they have a pretty hot bonus in there to get it up to 84,000. But just wanted to point out how expensive that is as compared to some of the other options out there. Any other standouts, Chris?
Not really.
So what's your favorite IUL?
My favorite IUL? That's tough. I do like Symetra. I think Symetra is my favorite currently. Between their different index options that they have, I think that is the most competitive with the lowest expenses. Also, it's hard to sell against that.
It really is. I mean, again, all of this is an imaginary until you have been in it for 10, 20 years, right? It is really hard to beat that offer. Low expenses, high cap. If they hold their caps long term, that's a really attractive offer. I think Securian looks really good. I like that they're right there with Symetra and the expenses. They've got a decent cap. I mean, 10.5, 11.5. I'd rather have the 11.5, but they do have an old block that they had very high caps on, that they had to drop down. And my prediction is that they'll do the right thing and keep raise the caps when they can.
Oh yeah.
I actually would probably trust Securian over like a, like maybe an NLG or somebody like that, or even a Lincoln.
A Lincoln recently.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of people have been burned on that one, but again, I don't think Lincoln's a bad company. I think they just made a mistake in pricing that old product.
Yes.
Um, but my favorite, I don't know if you're going to ask me that, Chris, but
Yeah, let's hear your favorite. Is it Columbus Life?
I actually don't think it's a bad offer. They do have a different product called the what do they call it? The Now IUL Now
The Index Explorer Now.
Index of Explorer Now,
Yep.
which is sort of this like I shouldn't say instant issue, but
The
it's
simplified issue.
yeah, it's a simplified issue product, and it's a little bit more expensive than the traditional one. But if you're doing like maybe like a bunch of small policies, it could make a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Um, I'll do my top three. How about that? And I'm gonna say Corebridge Brokerage, Symetra, Securian is what I'm gonna say. And again, Corebridge Brokerage, I mean, they AIG, massive company. I think that's good. Symetra, low expenses,
No
high caps.
no old block of business that they're having to make up for.
Exactly. They're actually owned by a mutual company. I didn't know that. But they're owned by a mutual company. And then Symetra, I would say low expenses, mutual company.
Securion, you mean?
I'm sorry, Securian. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. What did I say?
Symetra.
I said Symetra twice.
They're too close.
They're number one and two. No. I always say those wrong. I don't know. I don't know if Symetra did that on purpose or what. But anyways, Chris, if you want to stop the sharing and we'll go back to see if there was any. I don't think there may be any questions, but flip it back over to the Riverside. It'll be oh, sorry guys. Chrome. There we go.
There we go.
Anyways, those are our top IULs. In the download, we'll include the chart. So if you're tuning in this afterwards, we'll include the chart. We'd love to help anybody decipher what's the best product for your client. Appreciate everybody joining in. I love to do these. Chris and I like to get into the numbers, and it's always a lot of fun. But man, it's confusing out there, and it's hard to pick what's the best. And in many cases, the best becomes subjective based on what's the most important thing to you as an advisor and your client as the end user of this product. And again, you got a situation, tell us about it. We'd be happy to try to decipher what's going to be the best option for the person that you're working with. So
Absolutely. I agree with that.
thanks, Chris. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.